There's a version of you, right now, looking at a goal so big it doesn't even feel like it belongs to you yet. Maybe it's the business. Maybe it's the body you want, the book you want to write. The life you keep promising yourself starts next Monday. And here's what nobody tells you about that feeling: the freeze, the way your hands just won't start. It's not weakness. It's not laziness. It's your own brain doing math and coming back with the wrong answer. Today I want to show you the math and how to beat it. Picture two people standing at the same starting line with the same goal: get healthier this year. The first one goes all in on day one. New gym membership, new meal plan, wakes up at 5 a.m., runs 3 miles. By Thursday, they're exhausted, sore, behind on work, and the whole thing collapses under its own weight. By the following Monday, it's already a memory. One more thing that didn't work. The second person does almost nothing by comparison. Day one, a 10-minute walk. That's it. Day two, the same 10 minutes. No meal plan overhaul, no 5 a.m. alarm, just the walk. 6 months later, guess who's still going? It's never the person who did the most on day one. It's almost always the person who did the smallest thing they could repeat without fail. Here's why, and it has nothing to do with willpower. There's no path through a forest until somebody walks the same way twice. The first time it's just grass, bent, but standing back up. The second time, a little more gives way. By the 20th walk, there's a trail. By the 100th, there's a road wide enough for anyone to follow without thinking. Nobody planted that road. They just walked the same small line over and over until the ground remembered. That's what's happening inside your skull every time you take a small action. Two neurons that fire together start to wire together. That's not a metaphor, that's basic neuroscience. Every time you repeat the same tiny action, that same circuit fires again, and your brain wraps a little more myelin, a fatty insulation, around that pathway. Myelin makes the signal travel faster. The path gets easier to walk because the brain is physically building the road as you go. Now here's where almost everyone gets it backwards. They think the goal is to take a big step, so they aim huge, and their own brain talks them out of it before they even start. There's a name for this in the science: effort discounting. Your brain runs a constant, silent calculation. Is this reward worth this effort? And the bigger the perceived effort, the more it discounts the value of the reward, even if the reward itself hasn't changed at all. A goal that feels like climbing a mountain gets discounted so hard it stops feeling worth starting. That's not a character flaw. That's arithmetic your brain is running without asking your permission. Think about a savings account for a second. Nobody gets excited watching a single pound or dollar sit there on day one. But compound interest doesn't care whether you're excited. It just keeps adding a small amount on top of a small amount on top of a small amount. And 20 years later, that boring, invisible little number has become something enormous. The growth was never dramatic on any single day. It was relentless on every day. That's the same mechanism as the forest path, the same mechanism as the myelin. Small, repeated, almost boring action is the only kind of action that compounds, because it's the only kind small enough to survive contact with a busy, tired, imperfect life. So here's exactly how you use this starting today. First, shrink the ask until it's almost laughable. Not the goal, the ask. The goal can stay as big and as far away as it needs to be. But the very next action has to be so small your brain can't justify discounting it. 1 page, not the book. 1 set, not the program. 10 minutes, not the hour. Second, repeat it at the same trigger every time. Same time of day, same place, same cue. The brain doesn't wire in a habit from intensity. It wires it in from repetition at a consistent trigger. That consistency is what lays the next layer down on the same path instead of starting a new one each day. Third, track that you did it, not how well you did it. A check mark, a tally, anything that confirms the path got walked again today. The quality of any single day's walk barely matters. What matters is that the same ground got walked on again. There's a writer who wanted to finish a novel for 15 years and never did. Every January, the goal was the same: write the book. Every January, it collapsed by February because write the book was never actually a step. It was a mountain wearing a to-do list's clothing. One year, the goal changed. Not write the book, just open the document and write 1 sentence. Some days that's genuinely all that happened. 1 sentence, then the laptop closed. Most days, 1 sentence turned into a paragraph, because once the path was opened, it was easier to keep walking than to stop. A year later, there was a finished manuscript, built entirely out of days where the only promise kept was absurdly small. Let's take a moment with this. If you can, let your shoulders drop and let your eyes close. Bring to mind the goal you've been carrying, the one that's felt too big to start. Now set the size of it down just for a moment. You don't have to climb it today. Picture the smallest possible version of the next step. Not the whole task, just the first inch of it. See yourself doing only that. Nothing more required of you right now. Notice how light that feels compared to the mountain. That lightness isn't a trick. That's what an undiscounted action feels like in the body. Hold that image a moment longer. You, taking the smallest step and the ground beneath it just slightly more worn than it was yesterday. Whenever you're ready, let your eyes open, carrying that lightness with you. You don't need a bigger plan. You need a smaller first step, repeated until the ground remembers the way. Walk the small line again tomorrow. The road builds itself. The Notes on Growth.